Here we go. All right, here we are, Wednesday evening, and I'm with Martha, and she lost her grandson, Jake, who was forever, oh my God,
25.
25. That's right, because he was the same age as Preston. In fact, they have a birthday you just mentioned. They're 13 days apart, so they were the same age. They would have been both 30 this year. And so,
Yeah,
first off, I can say I'm sorry. I'm
thank
sorry
you.
for your loss. That's the best and I am sorry also because you've had another loss as well, Jake's mother. And like,
Yes,
tell me about that. I don't, I can always say I don't know how to feel for anybody that's lost two people. I'm sorry. That's the best I can say.
thank you.
So,
Thank you.
so
Yeah. My daughter, Selena, Jake's mom, was 36 when she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And she passed when she was 39. So it was real hard. And but I know the Lord, I have faith. And with Selena and Jake, those I had two different griefs.
yeah,
Because with Selena, I had 3 years to prepare. Either the Lord was going to heal her, which
right,
he did because he healed her in heaven, or uh, she was going to pass. So that that was one grief. With Jake, it that hit me real hard, and I was trying to make that out. I was thinking, okay, why is it with Jake that my heart hurts? Because it hurt like for 2 weeks, like really hurt. I had pain, and I said, well, I lost Selena, and I didn't. My heart didn't hurt. I mean, like
right.
physically hurt, but with Jake, I did, and and that was because I did not have tomorrow
Right.
with Jake. I just found him, and I wasn't prepared. I just found him, and it really hit me hard. Really hit me real hard.
Well, Selena, you expected it. She was going through cancer. And there was always that, I hate to say, I don't want to say option, but there was always that outcome that maybe something bad could happen and that we expected. It's kind of like losing
Yes,
a parent or something like that. You know, you just don't know if they have a chronic disease. You're you're at least know that there's that outcome that something bad could happen. But Jake, yes. Preston, yes. All of our grandchildren, children, it was like that, and we didn't expect
exactly.
it. And it shouldn't happen that way. You shouldn't lose a child. You should never go before your children. I mean, your children should never go before you. And,
Yep.
and trust me, my family knows the whole thing. All of my children are gone. My mom has Alzheimer's, and she's everybody's gone in my family. And
Mhm.
so,
Sorry.
but no, but it gives me strength.
But
It does give me
yeah,
strength.
I know, but it's hard. It is hard.
Right. Well, tell me what happened with Jake, because I'm guessing, a lot of people, I'm just guessing, but I'm going to go into this because I spoke with Nikki earlier, and she talked about the trauma that her son went through. And I can only think that Jake maybe went through the same thing with trauma. I mean, losing his mom, you know,
Yes.
and so,
What that with Jake, what happened to Jake was I feel seeing, Selena for 3 years, seeing her sick. And Selena has 6 children. So Jake was the oldest. I know. And I was with her in Mansfield in Fort Worth. And for those 3 years, and Lane would commute back and forth. But I had to be there to be with the kids too. And Mike, I always with Selena, I made it a point where I would not let the kids see me worried, or you know what I'm saying? That
yeah.
I would always be like, okay, I just made it seem normal, as normal as I could. And then Selena was pregnant, and Jake has a little brother. He's 11. No, he's 11 now. So
While
she,
she was going through cancer?
yes.
Oh, Jesus.
So it was rough, and but she had the baby. They wanted to take her son, and she said, "No, I'm going to deliver this baby, and after the baby is born, then we'll do what we need to do with the treatment." Because she didn't know she was pregnant, and then they told her, "Well, you're pregnant, but you have cancer. We got to take the baby." She said, "No," and she just, but seeing all that, and Jake, he had his wisdom teeth pulled out when he was 18, right? And they gave him oxycodone. So Jake, his biological dad, we didn't know much about him. And Selena had Jake when she got pregnant when she was 17, and she had him when she was 18, and they were real close. And we didn't know until later that Jake's biological dad had issues with he was addicted to drugs. And if we would have known that, but still, oxycodone, that's what they
Right.
gave him. And during that time, Selena put him in rehab, and he did real good. So we were struggling, trying to take her off Jake and take her off Selena. Well, then he was doing good. I would keep an eye on him. And then my Selena had every drug because of the cancer,
Cancer.
right? So we would make sure that Jake would not get a hold of, that he could not get a hold of anything because he knew what was out there because of Selena being sick. So it was like, um, yeah, I had to like sleep with the medicines. I mean, really sleep. We
No, I
lost
get it.
fun, but we would sleep with them. And Jake, he was, I mean, I felt he was doing good, which he was. So then Selena passes, right? So then he goes, lives with his dad for a little bit, but then he calls Papa and I, Lane and I, and he's like, Mimi, I want to go live with you and Papa. He said, I need to be with you all. And we told him, that's good, come on. And he did. And Jake, I know he struggled with anxiety because of everything that was going on in the household with his mom. And I remember Selena telling me, okay, mom, Jake is smoking pot. She said, but he says that helps him with anxiety. And I prefer him instead of popping a pill,
Yeah.
you know? And I was like, well, Selena, I don't know. And she goes, but mom, he needs something for anxiety, but we could go get him help. But once they know that we're gonna have to tell him that he's addicted to the painkillers. They're not gonna give him anything to help him because
Right.
everything out there you get addicted to. And I'm like, okay, and Mike, I was very naive about drugs, alcohol, all that. I never did anything, so I was very naive. And I was like, okay, I just knew drugs and alcohol. Oh, we don't do that.
Right.
Well, so I know he smoked pot. So when he came here, we knew that, and we said, but Jake, um, if you need, we're here for you. We're here to help you. Uh, just let us know. And he's like, okay. And he was fine. He was working at Dillard's at the time. And then he started, okay, he was with us for 5 years. So we never had any trouble with him. He was doing real good. He was in a good, his friends, I would tell him, make sure you make good friends, stay on the right path. Papa and I love you. We love you unconditionally. We're here for you. He's like, okay, he knew he worked. So he was working at Dillard's, and one of his I found out later that this young lady was she would give him pills, like he would self medicate, which I didn't know what that either. So somebody with his anxiety, I did find out, and I said, what do you, and to me it was like this, Mike, why are you taking somebody's medication? That's not okay. That's how naive. Don't be taking people's medication. That's for them. And he's like, but Mimi, I have anxiety. I said, then let's go get you some help.
Yeah.
I'll take you somewhere. We'll get some counseling. He goes, but they're not going to help me. I'm telling you, they're not going to help me. I could handle it. He would always say, I could do it. I could do it. And I would say, but Jake, you know, you can't do it. He goes, I could do it, Mimi. I know what I'm doing. That was his favorite, I know what I'm doing. And Mike, I would try to watch him 24 hours a day. Well, that's hard, but like I said, I never knew until I found out that about the self-medicating, and that's what I thought that, you know, so naive. But so one night, him and I were up, and he loved to play, he was a gamer. He was
Oh boy. Oh, he
good.
is Preston. He's the same kid. Oh my God.
And he was good at it too, Mike. I mean, he was good. And we were ordering him an Xbox and a controller. And him and I would stay up till 2 in the morning talking. I would always tell him, God has a plan for you, Jake. And I would tell him, that I said, look, I can't tell you how you feel. You lost your mom. And I said, I don't know what that feels like. I said, because I still have my mom,
Right.
but she just recently passed away. I said, so I don't know that. I said, but son, I lost a daughter. And you're not gonna know how that feels, but it's hard. And I said, we're here for you. We'll help you through everything. I would tell him how God had plans for him. And he would say, really? And I would say, yeah, I see you married. I see you have kids. And I would always tell forever. I mean, we would just stay real late. Well, that night he came to the room. It was maybe about 2:30. And he said, Mimi, I forgot. He goes, I need to order a controller. And I said, well, order it. He goes, but I want you to look at it. And I said, okay. So we did. But then I went to bed about close to 3. And that was it, Mike. Because the next day I get up and I see his door close. And I thought, God, that's weird. Because he would always leave it at least cracked. And I said,
Right.
that's weird. But I said, he's probably, sleeping still because he didn't have work. So then I went and did some errands because I take care of my grandkids too. The other two that live here, I pick them up from school and stuff. I went out and it was maybe about 1:30, and I said, I'm gonna call him. So I call him up, right? Because I would bring him lunch. Even though he was 25, I still treated him, he was still
Your
my
baby.
yes, yes. So I was like, I called him and he didn't pick up. And Mike, I the Lord told me, go home. I mean, I heard it. And I was like, so I go home. And it's already like 2:15 and the door's still closed. I was afraid to go in. And when I opened it, I found him. And he was like asleep. He was asleep with his phone like this, right? But I did notice a little bit of foam. And
Wow.
okay, I did notice that, but it was red. But it was because too I looked and he had a big red that he was drinking. He liked big red. So I
Wow.
thought, what happened? So then I started looking. I didn't call 911 because I already knew that I was by myself. I already knew that he was no longer with us. So I started checking his pockets and I was like, what did you take, son? And I started looking under everywhere, everywhere. I didn't find not one thing, not nothing. And so I called Lane. Lane couldn't get to me quick enough. And then he called my son-in-law. I called my daughter, which doesn't live, excuse me, that doesn't work far. She came right away. But my son-in-law beat her here, and he thought, I found a snake or something. And I said, no, son. I said, Jake. And so when he went in the room, he started doing CPR. And I said, leave him alone. I said, he's already gone. And then he called EMS. But let me tell you, Mike, when they came in and I could hear them, and they were like, what is this? They said, we've been getting calls almost every day about, we're finding these, everybody's dying. They didn't even know what hit them.
Oh, geez.
And so I remember hearing that, and I was confused, but they were like, ma'am, uh, of course, and they said, you can't come in, and we're going to check the room. And I said, you're not going to find anything. I already checked. There's nothing. He took just one pill. So later, the detective comes out and he just says, I found this. And I said, that's ibuprofen, because I had given it to Jake. And that's Benadryl. And I said, that's it. And they're like, wow, we don't know. And so they left it like that. All Lane and I could think about is, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna plan this stuff? We were already thinking about how are we gonna bury him? What are we doing? And calling everybody. And so for a year, I just sat on it for a year. And I said, I need help, because I kept getting stuck.
Yeah.
I kept getting stuck. And when I say stuck, and I know, I don't know if you felt like that, but I kept role playing when I found how I
Yeah.
saw him. You know, I kept role playing, but I saw him get, I knew he was going to get married. I knew he was going to get kids. So, I mean, have kids. So I was stuck. So I got a counselor uh, to help me. And I had gone counseling in Memphis, and she was a good counselor, and she helped me with some childhood trauma that I had. So I called her right away, and she said, let me get you somebody over there. And she did. And I started, listen to this, Mike. So I started my counseling, and I don't know if you're familiar, but they did EMDR treatment.
Electric magnetic. The
Yes,
I,
that vibration.
yeah.
Okay, it does help me. So she did that. And then I kept telling her, oh, because then I started checking Jake's phone. And I found out it was that girl from Dillard's. I knew who she was. I know it was one pill. That's all he took. Somebody that night that him and I were up, somebody came by. Uh, one of one of his friends, one of the girlfriends, a friend of his came by, picked him up, took him to go get it, and came home. Okay, and he asked for an oxy. They gave him an oxy, right? So that's it, just one pill.
Yeah.
So I was telling the counselor, I was telling her, but ma'am, I said, he took one pill, and they laced it with something. I know they put something, and she kept telling me they can't do that. When they make an, she didn't know that they were pressed pills, because
Oh,
she
okay.
said, yes, she was saying, she said, but Martha, if a pill is already made, she's thinking like prescription pill, right?
Prescription. Yeah. Not
They
counterfeit.
can't put anything. And I said, I'm telling you, I said, there was something in that pill. He only took one. Well, now we know,
Oh, yeah.
right? So she didn't even know, but she did help me through my trauma. And once I got better, then we live in Shirts, right? There's a restaurant right here. It's called Garcia's Restaurant, Mexican, on 3009. I walk in, and this is almost already a year, right? That has passed. I walk in and I see a picture of the hostess that would always help us. And I thought she needed help, like hospital, she needed blood or whatever. And I said, I could donate some blood. And they said, no, no, no. They said, she's dead. And I said, what? And all the guy said was, he said, somebody gave her a pill. Oh, Mike, I just started connecting all the dots and I went, oh my goodness. I said, I need to get in touch with her mother.
Right.
And her name was, the little girl, her name was Donica, and she was 17. And somebody gave her a Percocet and to help her sleep. And so I found her. I found her mom, Veronica, and she's the one that got me with these angel moms, and we've been
Okay.
fighting. She used to do the walk.
Okay. Yeah.
Veronica's the one who started the walk.
Kathy was telling me about her, the first mother she
Mhm.
met. Yeah.
So, but she just said, I can't, she couldn't do it anymore. It was hard. So that's the story. And that's how it just devastating. And so I remember after that, Mike, and I still do it. I had to talk to every kid. I was at a restaurant. I
Yeah.
would talk to them. Yeah, I just need to let you know. Do y'all know about fentanyl? And a lot of them, Mike, back then.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is already 2022,
Right.
right? And they're like, no, what is that? I would always hear no, 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 no. 23, some would say no, and some would say yes. 24, they're like, we know what that is. And I still tell them, I go to each kid. I got a real big banner that I use for the walk, but it was just rolled up. And I said, I'm gonna roll it up anymore. I put it on the yard on the side because a lot of kids pass by from school, and I put it there and I plaster it. I have people knock on the door and they're like, thank you for doing that. And I always tell them, talk to your kids, talk to your
Yeah.
grandkids, tell them no. And I tell them, like, I also say, the youngest I know, I mean, there's babies, but I'm telling you, the youngest that I know, 10, 10, to let them know, don't think just because they're 11, 12 that everything's okay, because it's not. You got to just tell them. So that banner has opened doors for me. So I'm real happy. I mean, I have it out there, and it has one pill kills. Don't make the uh, don't make a deadly decision, and it has Jake's picture, and then it has like 50 times stronger than heroin, 100 times stronger than, I
Well,
have all of that on the
yeah.
big poster. But and doing this walk, I mean, it's it's good because we're letting people know the danger because they just don't. I mean,
Well,
I
that's what I appreciate so much. Even when I was on the phone with Lane last week, and it's just, I mean, I feel that our duty as family members when we've lost somebody is that we have to let everybody know. And,
yeah,
and I don't, I've always said the same thing. I've spoken to 5 people. I've spoken to 500. I've spoken to 7,000 students at one time. And I always focus on, Jesus always said, leave the 99 to go after the one. That's the way I look at it. And if one
mhm,
person listens to me, that makes a difference. And
yeah,
I think that our job, or my job at least, is I can guarantee you that for the past nearly 1,500 days since Preston has died, I have spoken about fentanyl to somebody, whether it's been at a Taco Bell restaurant, on an
yep,
airplane, at a national park, um, a physician's office that I call on in my
yep,
job. I tell somebody about it every day because if I don't, then I failed somebody. That's
yes,
the way I look at it. And the naive part when you brought that up earlier, that we were just, I mean, we just thought he just took one pill, you know, that kind of mentality. It's not like, you and I, we grew up in the ages of, you could maybe try drugs, and the worst that happened is you got addicted. Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's it. And but now it's a death sentence. And I don't
Mhm.
care. And it's one pill can kill, but it's one try you die. I always say that now because it's in marijuana, it's in the vape pens. Uh, Now I'm finding out that most of the drugs coming across from the cartel, it's cocaine and methamphetamine that they're dosing it with. So
Mhm.
it's in everything. It
It
just,
is.
yeah, you can't try it like back when you and I were kids. You can't try it. So
No, you can't experiment if you want to say that.
exactly.
Can't
Yes.
just
Yeah.
because you'll die. I mean, and like I remember talking to some kids. They were like, "Oh no, ma'am, we don't do pills, right?" And I go, well, that's good. And then I'll say, "Do you know it's in pot?" And Mike, they turn red, so I know they smoke pot. And they're like, what?" And I said, "It's in pot." I know. I said, "I know two young boys. I know of two young boys that were 16. They were sharing a joint, and they both died." And they're like, "What?" I said, "It's in
Yep.
pot. It's in vape. Don't just nothing. Don't
Yep.
take anything." And they're like, "Okay." So I get on them like a grandma, but I have to. And I'm like you. I see kids, and my heart just says, "You need to tell them." So I just go, and I know maybe mix, and I always tell them, like, "Look, I'm telling you this." I said, "Not that you do anything." I always say that because I don't want them to think, "Golly,
Right.
I look like an addict." So I say, "Not that you do anything, but I'm letting you know." And then I'll say my grandson was killed with fentanyl. I said, so, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And then I'll say, "Don't take anything." And they're
Yeah.
like, "Okay, okay." So yeah, I feel I have to tell everybody because I feel like you, if I don't, but if I didn't tell that one person and something happened, that's how I feel.
It's almost guilt that you because
Yes.
I wake up. I mean, trust me, every night I go to bed and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm done. I'm done with doing this. I've been doing it for nearly 5 years. But then I wake up every morning and I say, if I don't do this and somebody dies, not that I'm going to save them, but I at least have to, my son died for a reason. Jake died for a reason. All of our kids died for a reason. So we owe them that at least. And when you brought up the mother that just turned red with the smoking pot, I was speaking at a PTA conference last October, actually, and I've been asked to come back. And I talked about the marijuana. It's in marijuana. And all of a sudden, all these mothers, I'm sitting there doing a speech, and all of a sudden the mothers are on their phone, and I just stopped and I said, "Is everything okay?" And they said, "Well, my daughter's in college, my son's in college. I'm letting them know it's in marijuana." They're freaking out. And I said, "Thank
Mhm.
you." And
Yeah.
I've spoken to colleges and they'll look at me and they're just kind of stunned. And I'm like, "I just ruined your whole college experience and your buzz, didn't I?" And they said,
Mhm.
"Yes." And I said, "I'm sorry, but I
Mhm.
have to be honest with you. I don't want to get a call from your parents
Yeah.
because it's not that you got in trouble, it's because you're dead. And I don't want to get that call. I don't want to get that call. I've got enough
Exactly.
friends. Yeah. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Mike, and with Selena, this is kind of hard for me. But I remember Selena when she was passing. She knew, and she just said, "Mom," she told me, "Take her of Jake for me." Uh,
It's
and
okay.
I had a real hard time with that because I said, "Lord, I didn't take care of him." Uh, she knew and
Mhm.
I told her, "Don't worry about it, Selena. I'll take care of him." Talking to Selena, I would never say, like if she would say, "Mom, if I don't make it," I would say, And God heals. We got to stand on faith. I never let her talk about it. I would say, "It's going to be good." And she's like, "Okay, Mom, okay." But she said, "But Mom, take care of Jake for me. I'll take care of him. You don't have to worry about it." And so for a while too, and sometimes it still
Yeah.
bothers me because I think, "Golly, I didn't take care of him." I mean, but then I know too that I couldn't. I couldn't watch him 24 hours a day. I couldn't, we did, Lane and I did the best. Jake had a home. We were never gonna, he wasn't gonna be out in the street. We loved him unconditionally. We showed him that we loved him. So he knew that. And that gives me comfort, but yeah,
It still it stinks. But,
yeah,
you know the
it,
Bible. God says God knows the day we were born, the day we're going to die. He knows that
exactly.
already. And
Yeah,
everybody has a purpose. We all have a purpose. I've told everybody today on the calls and everybody else. I said we were blessed. You were blessed with Jake. You were blessed with
yeah,
Selena. And
yeah,
I always say the same thing. A lot of people will never be blessed with that gift of a child.
yeah.
I never take that for granted.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So that's
Yeah,
it makes
yeah,
me feel better. I don't know if that comforts anybody else, but it helps because
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And and um, my grief now. I mean, it after getting my help, after and with God's peace, you know how that is. I
yeah,
mean, He God's peace. I mean, I'm okay. I'm not. Uh, I move on.
right.
I got Lane. I got the rest of our grandchildren and my daughter and because I had two daughters. That's why Jake was like my boy because
Yeah.
I raised two daughters and Jake, my first grandson. Oh, it was so awesome. He was like my boy. And so, I mean, I it's my purpose, my mission is to tell, I feel like you. I mean, I gotta tell people about this poison. Because still, even though a lot of people are like, now that it comes out in commercials a little bit,
Right.
and now that we do talk about it in the news, and okay, but still, there's some people out there that don't know.
Oh yeah.
So, and
Many, 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 many people. I'm in the medical field and I talk to doctors all day long when I'm meeting with them. And they see the tattoo on my arm and what's that about? And I said, my son died of a fentanyl poisoning. And they're like, oh, was he overdosed by a doctor? And I'm like, no, it was a fentanyl poisoning. He goes, what are you talking about? And I'm like, how do you not know about this?
mm-hmm,
And they're blind to it. If it doesn't affect you, then I don't worry about it, is the way.
and that's true.
Yeah.
That
So
is true. Yeah.
so it's our job, I feel my job and your job, Lane's job, to get out there and just share it with one person every day that this is a poison. It's not an
Exactly.
overdose. And
That's right.
and I get so sick of the media that always says, I'll bring this up. Dallas County Jail last month, they put out in the paper, Dallas County inmate dies of fentanyl overdose. Other inmate charged with that person's murder. And I said, okay, think about what you just said. You can't charge somebody with murder for an overdose.
Exactly.
Why can't you just say she was charged with her poisoning?
Exactly.
If
I
I
don't
put rat poisoning in somebody's coffee and they die, they didn't overdose on
exactly.
rat poisoning. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's
Yeah.
common sense. So the media needs a little help too, but I get it. It's still an overdose issue, is what they look at. So,
That's but that is true.
yeah,
That's exactly what I mean. I have poison up there. I didn't put no overdose. And when people if they say, oh, I go, it wasn't an overdose. How could one pill? And all you need is two little pieces of salt. And
yeah,
you're that's poison.
yeah,
And I'll always say, Jake didn't ask for fentanyl.
yeah,
Didn't ask for it. And
yeah,
because I know too on his phone, he he didn't say anything about fentanyl. He wasn't aware about, you
yeah.
know, fentanyl. But Mike, when I got on these groups and I started seeing the years that people have lost their kids,
Yeah.
and they're like 2018 to fentanyl, and I'm like, what? Like
Yeah.
in California, or like, and I'm thinking, why didn't they tell us? I mean, I'm talking about the media.
Exactly.
Why didn't they say there's this drug out there that's killing kids and it's fentanyl?
Yeah.
I never heard of that.
Yeah.
So when I saw the years, I would think, no, because this started in in 2020. So 2020, 21, 22. That's, but no, back then. And that upsets me that they didn't, nobody said anything.
Well, I blame that a lot on, well, I don't blame it, but I think I've had 87 phone calls from families in North Texas that have said, hey, I was given your number and they told me to call you.
Oh my.
And what was the exact thing that every one of them said? Hey, we just, and this was before the autopsy happened.
Mm-hmm.
They said, hey, the police, we found, once they got, calm and everything, they'd call and they'd say, hey, the police came by. I lost my daughter. I lost my son. And all the police said was, it sounds like one of these fentanyl things.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, what are you talking about fentanyl? How do we not know about this fentanyl crisis? Why do the police know about it and it looks like it, but I don't know anything about it? And so I don't blame the police, but that's not their, I don't want to say that's not their job, but the
Right.
media, the state, the city, they need to bring this up.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because I don't need to get another call and somebody says, well, they said my son died of a fentanyl poisoning. The police said that. And they're, what is fentanyl about? I'm like, oh, police, can you do your job and at least explain to them, something like that. I don't blame them. That's not their job, but
Mhm.
that's why it's you, me, everybody else, souls walking for soul, all that we're doing. We're the only ones that are out there spreading the awareness. The police, the prosecutors, they're not going to arrest their way out of this. They're not going to prosecute their way out of this. It's us.
Yeah,
It's sad, but
it is sad. And my cousins, they know how Jake passed, right? And I get a call from my cousin. Uh, she was telling me, she goes, Martha, my daughter died, and this was just in March. And she said, I said, what happened? And because she knows, because I always tell her. I mean, I tell everybody, don't tell your kids, don't touch any pills.
yeah,
Okay. Well, she goes, Martha, she goes, I said, what did she take? What happened? And she said, well, they found her, and she was telling me how they found her. And Mike, I, I was like, it's fentanyl. I mean, I
yeah,
knew that. And she said, do you think that's what it was? And later the autopsy came. She took a pill and it was fentanyl.
yeah,
And I'm thinking, okay, I've been telling everybody. I go, why? But what happens too is they think it will not happen to them. So
exactly.
she was 40, she was 43, I think. And she just passed. And it just breaks my heart. So I wrote a text to all my cousins. I said, you know what I do? I'm letting you know this hit close to home again. Our cousin's daughter passed away. She was killed with fentanyl poisoning, one pill. I go, please talk to your kids, talk to your grandkids. And okay, probably only two responded because I think they don't know what to say. You know what I
Right.
mean?
No, you're exactly right. I do know what you mean. They, there's a lot of shame in there, and they don't want to admit that maybe their children will try something. They don't want to feel the blame that if something happens. How many parents I've talked to that have actually said, I don't want to tell anybody how my kid died because it'll look bad on me. And I don't care. I mean, people come after me. They've come after me forever saying,
Mhm.
oh, you're a bad father. You didn't raise your child well. Whatever. Yes. Tell me a perfect teenager that never lied or
Exactly.
whatever. So, they're
That's
going to
true.
make mistakes and people make mistakes, just like you and I, we're sinners. We sin
That's
every day.
right.
And
That's right.
if we only had one chance, none of us would go to heaven. We'd all be screwed,
Hmm.
to be honest with you. But
Yeah.
no, it's the shame and stigma. We've talked about that, forever. I don't like that. The shame and stigma, stigma and shame. And it's just, we just have to make people aware. And I don't even like the students now that are coming up to me. Well, I do like that they're coming up to me now and finally saying, oh, I get it. It's a poison. They don't even realize that.
Very good.
Like, I thought I'd go to a party, just don't give me the pill with fentanyl in it. It's like, yeah, like you have a choice, or something like
Yeah,
that.
right. Yeah,
Yes.
right. I know. Like, oh, Mike, I went into the school. I've been trying to get into schools, right? But I went in to see one of the counselors, the head, and I said, look, it's like this. And I grabbed, she had mints. So I grabbed all these mints. And I said, okay, here you go. There's 10 mints there. I go, 7 of them have fentanyl. Pick one. And she just looked at me and she went, oh, and I said, that's what I'm saying. I said, I gotta talk to these kids. You gotta let me get in there and talk to these kids because that's how. Okay, so they're gonna think, oh, you know what? I'll pick that one. Well, what if that one has the fentanyl? You just don't pick.
Yeah.
You know, there's 10, but you don't pick.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, but and finally, I'm getting in, and I'm like, thank you, Lord. But it's yeah, it's just it's out there. It's killing, and I was thinking, okay, it's going to get better. But you know what, Mike? Every day I still hear, just like my cousin's daughter. That was in March,
Yeah.
just in March. And I'm thinking, okay, it's not. And then with this other drug, which is, I hope I say it right, carfentanil. Am I
Uh,
saying that right?
yeah, the carfentanil, all the new nitazines, the 20 subclassifications, the OH7 with yeah, it's never ending.
Mm-mm. I know.
So that's our job. Your
Yeah.
job, Lane's job, my job, to get out there and tell every kid, don't experiment.
Yeah.
I tell people,
Exactly.
yeah, the worst you can do is be like me, drink Dr. Pepper every morning. That's
That,
it.
that's it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I'm sorry,
Absolutely.
I ruined your buzz. That's what I
Yeah.
would say. I remember I was speaking at SMU, the university in Dallas, and I remember speaking with 200 people. And one girl admitted, she goes, we bought a bag of cocaine. She admitted it.
Mm.
And they bought test strips, which are not legal in Texas, but they got one online somehow. And she goes, so we had a bag of cocaine at this party and we took some of it out and tested it and it was okay. And I said, okay, here's the deal. The cartel doesn't mix it up. It's wherever. So you could test one little portion, just like one pill. You can get a bottle of 10. One pill's okay. That doesn't mean the rest of them are good, are bad, or they're bad. And so I said, you're just playing Russian roulette, like you said earlier. And it's not, you just can't do it. And I'm sorry that I've ruined your buzz and your childhood. I'm sorry. You can't experiment, you know.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Oh, it stinks, but that's why it takes all of us as parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my goal has always been 340 million Americans. And, until every American knows what we've been through,
Mm-hmm.
then I can't quit. I want to quit sometimes, to be honest,
I know.
but
I know.
but I don't want another Jake's mother or Jake's grandmother calling me saying I want to join your club
Yeah.
because I don't want any more friends. I don't need any
Yeah,
more
I
people.
know. I know. It's just, yeah, it's so sad. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I appreciate the biggest thing I appreciate with you and Elaine as grandparents out there doing what you're doing. I appreciate that. I mean, that's just
Thank you.
awesome. I love it.
You know, that's one thing too at the walk last year, this is our third annual walk, right? People thought Jake was my son. So they would always say, oh, your son, your
I
son.
did too.
You did too? Okay. And I thought, okay, I gotta fix this. So at the last walk, I said, look, I got to tell you all the story. I said, I don't know if you know my whole story. So I said, Jake's mom, my daughter. So I went into that, told him about that. She passed away with cancer, breast cancer. That's why Jake also struggled with a lot of anxiety. I said, but what she did, she passed the baton to me and I took it and I'm here. And so I'm Jake's grandma, Mimi. That's what they call me, Mimi. I said, and so he's my grandson. I said, because too, Mike, I started thinking, what if these people start thinking, well, where's the mother? How
Oh
come
yeah.
she's not here? I think because some people, and so I set the story straight. She passed away. She gave me the baton, and I'm doing the fight for her because I said Selena would be here doing it,
Yeah.
but I'm here doing it. So, but I would still be doing it.
I know you would.
That's me. Yeah.
Well, I didn't even know, until Lane last week. I did not know that he was a grandson. I never knew that. So I apologize for that. So,
Okay,
yeah.
that's okay. But see, but they do think. I mean, they, and I'm like, well, he was. I always say, but he was like my son. He
Well,
was my son.
his family, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
who
that's
it was.
right.
And
That's
I'll be very honest when I meet people. I mean, the waterfall journey, there were 300 people that I honored. And people always ask me, do you know, if they were to say, do you know Martha? And I'm like, no. And I said, do you know Jake? And I said, okay, I know Jake because I know the child. And so
oh my
I
goodness.
associate with the victims,
Yes, yes.
but that's what made me started to realize, wait, 450,000 people have died since Preston has died. You take 10 family members to every child or every loved one. That's 4.5 million other victims, us that are sitting out here. And
Hmm.
who cares about them? Really, nobody does. And we're the largest group in the world that nobody wants to be a member of. And so I always just say, wait, we got to start taking care of these people as well.
Hmm.
So, and so that's why, I mean, I hate to say this in a bad way. I wish I didn't know you,
I
if that makes sense. You know,
It does make
I
sense. It
yeah,
does make sense because it's sad. I mean, we know our heartache. We know
yeah,
how it feels to lose our son or
yeah,
grandson. It's devastating. 24/7. I think about Jake. I think about Selena. That doesn't go away.
right.
But I mean, the only way I survive is because of the Lord. God,
Exactly. Yeah.
God gave me the peace. So, I move forward and I do
Keep,
what I need to do.
keep your faith. The Job, if you've read the Bible, Job is my mentor. He was tested so many times. It,
Yes.
so much was taken away from him. Trust me, I get it. And I just said, I got to keep my faith because you know what?
I,
I'm only renting space here on Earth.
yep.
So one day I'll be with all of our boys one day. So, well, you've got your event coming up next week. I'm going to meet you in a week and a half. It's a
Yeah.
lot. So I'm excited to meet some of you guys that I haven't met in person. So I'm excited about that. And,
Too.
everybody's talked about the event. You're going to have some speakers. They went over, it starts at 3 o'clock, I think they said.
Yes.
But it'll be a great thing. I've missed the past 2 years. I wish I could have been there. I had the national parks and then I think the border event or something like that. But
Mm.
I'm excited to be there this year. And so I'm excited to meet you. Is Lane going to be there?
Yes.
Well, he better be because
He's
I
gonna.
need
Yes. He helped me. Mike, bless his heart. We're in charge of the water and stuff too.
good.
And Lane gets those muscles going. But yes, we he's there. He's always by my side. He's real good.
Good, because I need him there. Because to be honest, I'm always around the women. I need some men around me.
Yes, you do.
I know. And so I got Lane. There he is.
I heard somebody say my name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would miss it for the world.
good.
Somebody's got to hold her back. She just runs 100 miles an hour, and if you don't put the reins on her, she drops.
I'm like
Good.
this, but it's good, Mike. It's a good thing.
Now I'm gonna be happy to be there. But I'm gonna say hi to the women, but I'm gonna hang out with the men. I know Chris
Yeah.
might be there, Oliveras, and some of the other guys. And so I
Oh,
just
Mike, that's so funny. But I did tell Lane. I said you need to give Mike Land a call, and he said, "Who?" And I said, "Mike Land. He's an angel dad. Tell him about your son." I go, him and Jake were the same age. They have the same birthday month. And he's like, yeah. And I said, give him a call. And I said, he needs some angel dads in there,
yeah.
angel grandpas in there. So I'm glad he did call you because
And I'm starting more. Lane, you were on the last call with Mark Murphy. I don't know if you
Yep.
remember him.
Yep.
He's heading up the Lost Voices in DC this year.
Yeah, I
Um,
really wish I could go to that. That sounds like it's going to be a spectacular event.
yeah, yeah. I've never been to it.
either.
Yeah, I was in DC 2 weeks ago. Um,
Right.
Sarah's Senate hearing, and so yeah, I had enough of DC for 1 month. So,
Well,
um,
we went up there for the inauguration. I don't know if Martha told you.
No.
oh, y'all were up there? Okay.
Yeah, we got invited. The Senator Cronin here in Texas
Okay.
knows Veronica real well and invited her and her husband Daniel and Martha and I, and we got to stand outside the Capitol in 10-degree weather. It was it was
But
really amazing.
yeah,
Well, to be honest, that's how the whole waterfall thing started.
Yeah,
yeah, I did.
We were all invited to the inauguration. I think Stephanie and Christine, maybe they went up there and they were at the fentanyl wall and they were
right.
like, "Where's Preston?" And I said, I submitted his, photo, but it's a virtual wall
Yeah,
also. I called Derek and I said, Mullins, and I said, "What's going on?" He said, "The wall's full."
yeah. That's
And
what they
that's when
said.
I said, you know what? Okay, I need another 25 Preston 7, did the national parks. So you know what? I'm going to honor these kids in a different way.
Right,
I said,
right,
let's do the waterfall thing. That's where it all came from.
right.
Uh,
That's very
that
cool.
Yeah.
and Mike, Jake too. I submitted Jake's picture to
Yep.
the wall also, but it was full. So he's
Yeah.
really like
He's-
Preston.
So
He Yeah, we look him up, and I haven't seen him yet because when we went, they were closed. But we would just key his name in, and he would come up. Yeah, he's not on the wall, but okay.
well, Jake was at Panther, I want to say Panther Creek Falls, if I remember right, in
Mm-hmm.
Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to speak really loud because when you got close to the waterfall, I was trying to yell almost. But
Right,
it was the coolest waterfall and all this moss. And I've learned one thing about waterfalls and moss. Moss grows only when the north is showing on it.
right, right.
So, so I was sitting there and I just noticed all the moss and it was right in Washington. And I just remember looking at that waterfall and
In Washington.
yeah, it was beautiful. And I just,
Did you ever hear of Seven Falls in Colorado Springs?
I've never heard of it. No.
It is absolutely, I was in Colorado Springs maybe a dozen times on business, and I never did any of the
Yeah.
tourist stuff. But we went there last summer with our daughter and grandkids. So they took us to Pikes Peak and they took us to
Yeah.
Mountain of the Gods. And one of the side attractions is Seven Falls. And it's actually seven waterfalls that plateau each way all the way down. And a guy owned it privately up until the 1920s, I think. And then they turned it into a park. And they have stairs
Oh, I
that
didn't
go
climb.
all the way along the falls to the very top. And I made it. It's 225 steps. And used to be I could run up that. But if you ever get anywhere near it, that's one waterfall you don't want to miss. I thought it was absolutely gorgeous.
Well, I saw some beautiful ones, and I will like to go there. I mean, I did all the national parks, basically west of the Mississippi, all of those. And
Wow,
I
that's
just
nice.
I just remember seeing, all the waterfalls, Yosemite and some of the places, and
Right.
that's when I just said, it brought me serenity, a little peace and comfort.
Yeah, yeah, I
love
get
the
it,
I,
Dave.
building too.
yeah, and I just said, you know what? All of our kids have been on a billboard or a poster or something like that, or going across whatever. I said, I want to give them something maybe live
Yes,
that maybe they could look at. And so,
That's good.
that's
yeah,
fantastic. Like,
yeah.
that really is
Great job.
amazing.
Great
And
job.
we're doing a book. So there were 300 people, about 300 people that I honored at the waterfalls, which was perfect because that's how many we lose every day.
Right.
And so I'm going to meet every family throughout the next year
Okay.
in person. I have to go to Alaska, Maine, and all these places. But I'm putting a book together, and every page there will be a book for Jake. And
Oh,
that page will be Jake and QR codes where you can click on that and there will be pictures of Jake and any videos you have, anything of him, whatever. So
Very
mhm.
cool.
everybody will have a book. So, but I want to meet everybody in person first and thank them. So you got
Very
to give
good.
me about a little over a year. I've met with maybe close to 75, but I still got to go to Arizona next month or this month actually, and then Alaska and wherever. So,
Yeah.
but so.
Well, Alaska is the only
Awesome.
state I haven't hit. I've hit every one of them but Alaska.
I'm looking forward to it. It was on my national park list, but I couldn't make it. So,
Yeah, no, I've been trying to talk her into a cruise up there, so we'll see.
well, you know what? I'm trying to get everybody. I've got to meet a family in the spring or summer, which is the best time to go in Alaska. And I'm
Right.
trying to get Christina, all of us at Texas Against Fentanyl, to go up there together and do like a family
That's
vacation.
good.
So,
Put me on the notice list. I have no idea
Well,
what we'll be doing, but that sounds perfect.
yeah, I would like because I want to go there, meet them in Anchorage, and I want to go to Denali National Park.
Right.
So,
Very
Good.
good. Cool.
so, well, thank you guys so much, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in a week and a half, whenever it is. Yeah, a week from Sunday.
Yeah, we look forward to meeting you, Mike, and thank you for everything you're doing, sir.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
so
you. Thank you guys for being out there, being outspoken. I appreciate it.
Right.
So,
much. Thank you.
well, hi, doggy. I see you back there.
Come here, little Hopi.
Yeah,
Is
so cute.
she like bedtime now?
Yes.
I'm trying to get her to eat. I think she may have just ate all her food. She's looking a little bit. Say goodbye, Hope.
Goodbye, Hope.
She's so cute.
Well, thank you guys. I'm going to send you the video here in a little bit. Once you approve it, I'm going to release them all tomorrow, all four of you guys. So,
Okay.
Sounds good.
thank you
Thank
guys so much.
Okay,
See
have
you,
a
Mike.
good one.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye bye.
Bye.